You are tuned into CJSW 90.9 on Tree 7 Land, North Mokinstis, otherwise known as Calgary, Alberta, and we have a special guest in the booth today. I want to introduce, what is your name?
My name's Maisie. I have a project called Atariwept, and yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Nice. What kind of music do you make?
It's kind of hard to describe outside of just the word emo, but I would try to narrow that down to outsider emo.
So, what is outsider emo? Is it like outsider music based, or is there kind of another meaning to it?
Yeah, so it's not like a widely used term at all. I think I'm probably the only person that used it, but it's kind of a similar idea to bedroom emo, if anyone knows about that, which is like very lo-fi, DIY focused emo or emo adjacent music. And the reason why I prefer outsider emo to that is because whereas a lot of people have like a community or whatever and that kind of stuff, I am very much like alone, like to myself. And then also like um I don't have any technical knowledge on making music. Like I don't know any chords or anything. I literally only like last year started tuning my guitar. So I very much feel like I'm kind of in line spiritually with something like Daniel Johnston. So yeah, that's where I'm coming from.
I've also seen your music described as by you hardcore before. What does that mean?
Yes. It's kind of it doesn't really mean too much, but I feel like my music and like artistic outlook is very much like romantic or like just sentimental and passionate. And yeah, it's just kind of a spin-off of like hardcore, but with heart. And yeah, because I don't know. It's just a cool name.
So before this interview, you mentioned the fact that some of your favorite emo is from second and third wave emo. Second being sort of the emo core scene of like Rite and Springs, and third being sort of Molyneux, like My Chemical Romance. But I also noticed that your music throughout your kind of entire career has sort of taken influence from a lot of sort of experimental genres, sort of combined them. What genres and sort of artists outside of your emo influence your music the most?
Yeah, so I actually kind of prepared notes because I listened to your interview with the Sleep Dealers. But so the first thing that I thought of with that is Spirit They're Gone, They've Vanished by Animal Collective,
Nice.
which I would probably consider my favorite album ever. But I feel like it very much played a huge role in like the foundation of a lot of like my musical tendencies. Like I don't know, specifically I think of the song Untitled, where it's just like a very beautiful, like emotional piece with like crazy noise over top of it. And I've just always loved that like dynamic of like experimental with like I don't know, just something that has melody to it as well. And um also it kind of runs parallel with a lot of emo in a way because emo very much plays with like a soft loud dynamic. Like that is one of the founding traits of emo music. So yeah, I just feel like that was a very strong thing for me. And then also, do you know Amy Yoshida?
No, I don't.
She's a Japanese like a cappella noise artist. And she like has all these albums of basically just her like screeching and like making crazy screams with her sound with her voice. And she's been a huge influence to me as well, just because I think it sounds fucking awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. And then Modest Mouse is like kind of on in the middle in a lot of ways, because like some people say it's emo, some people don't. Regardless, like they put out a series of like demo tapes in 1993 and 1994, and they are like crazy awesome. And I think it's like probably the most apt thing to what I make nowadays. Like even though they're from way back then, it's like very outsidery, like extremely lo-fi, like weird experimental stuff that has like an indie rock emo-ish kind of bass.
Oh,
Like
I
if you
never.
haven't heard those demos, like I would highly, highly recommend listening to them because it's like visionary in a way.
I remember listening to those one of those demo tapes at least back when I was like back in high school, obsessed with Moss Mouse, and yeah, I'll have to give it a first try. I think it kind of flew over my head the first time, but yeah, thank you for the recommendations. All right.
I also was just gonna say like Shoo Shoo and Blow on the Dance Floor are also two big influences in that way because I they were kind of the bands that inspired me to start making music because both artists' voices are like so unconventional and but they also are very like emotionally driven and passionate. It kind of taught me that emotion was more important than anything else in music, and that's what I believe.
All right, so one of my favorite things about your music is, well, your lyricism. And one thing I do notice is that you sort of combine these very sort of personal, introspective lyrics with these very sort of very almost like very vivid, almost graphic imagery. And one thing I do notice is heavy symbolism in your music. And so I wanted to ask you, I kind of see various sort of mentions of sort of nature, animals, and sort of blood in your lyrics. Could you tell me a little bit more about the significance of those?
Yeah, first of all, I really appreciate you noticing that because I feel like my lyrics aren't noticed enough, and that's kind of like one of the biggest reasons I make music is to put out my writing. And yeah, so blood is like I have this whole like crazy concept about blood and like I've never really even tried to articulate it, so but this is gonna be my attempt, I guess. But I just like I'm always thinking about how blood plays a role in like family. So like I kind of think like my blood isn't just mine. Like it also is my father's, his father's, and so on and so on. And I I feel like distressed by that in some way. Like it makes me feel like I don't know, like I'm like I don't have autonomy in some way. It's like really hard to explain, but um yeah, and then I also feel like our blood is like cursed, like my family's blood. But so yeah, that's just something I always am writing about because also I have OCD and like I get stuck on these like certain concepts very often and they just kind of like haunt me all the time. So blood is something that I think about a lot. And then what else did you bring up?
Nature.
Yeah, you know, being from Appalachia, I feel like I have a sort of special, or maybe not even special, but I have like a connection to nature. Like I very much respect it and I am grateful to it. Like nothing really hits more than like I don't know, just like being around like a body of water or like seeing deer coming out of the woods or something. Like I don't know, it's just really cool.
Absolutely. I live in Calgary near the mountain ranges. I feel the same thing. Nature is beautiful. One of your best songs, Quetzalcoatl Death Whistle, you mentioned how much you sort of care about how the American land that you live on has been a ground of sort of, the genocide of Native Americans, and that made me wonder how much does your indigenous heritage impact the music that you make?
I would say it definitely does, but maybe not like a whole ton, but also it is important to me. Like um that's another thing about blood that kind of slipped my mind when you were asking, but yeah, like I very much think about like it feels like America's like haunted, and it sounds kind of silly because like people die everywhere, but I just feel like the blood in America's soil is like extra cursed, like it's just really bad. And yeah, I'm Guatemalan, I'm half Guatemalan, my mom is Irish and my dad is Mayan. And there was a 36-year genocide while my dad going on while my dad was growing up of the Mayan people in Guatemala. And I actually have had family members on his side uh die because of political issues in the country. Like my grandfather uh he like made clothes, I can't remember the word, like a tailor or whatever. And he made and provided masks to Mayan protesters of the government, and somebody snitched on him, and the government came to their house and literally killed him. Um, and yeah, it's just like all really fucked up shit. And of course, the U.S. Had a big hand in it because they installed a right wing uh I don't know if dictatorship's the right word, but like this like very uh horrible, lawless right wing government in order to prevent communism because there was a banana company based there and they were American, but they owned 20% of Guatemala's land and they're called Chiquita. They changed their name a few years ago because they finally got in trouble for what they did. But they were based there and the Guatemalan government elected their first president and he was like, I'm buying back land from this company, whether they want to or not. And so he did that and the banana company went to the US and said they got communism going on down there. And of course, and this is just like all of Latin America, like all of these countries down there have had their governments completely destroyed and their whole livelihood um, pretty much ruined by the U.S. government in the name of defending America from communism.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. American land is 100% haunted.
Yes.
One other thing that I've seen you mention before is that because of going to concerts, one half of your ear, you're kind of partially deaf on one ear, and you've mentioned before in your EP Two Force Feeded that you were trying to actually tinker with your music to try to like adapt to that. Do you think that that partial deafness sort of is a hindrance to your music, or do you think that allowed you to create sort of new sounds and styles?
No, I definitely view it as a hindrance because it's just hard to like parse the specifics when I'm like mixing and stuff like um and then especially like thing it's hard to tell the difference a lot of the time. That's the big thing. And then I always want to make my vocals too loud because I can't hear them good. But then I'll like send it to my friend and they're like, you need to turn that down. So yeah, it's been tough.
On one of your most recent release, Claymore, you end up working with an artist I'm a big fan of, the avant-gardist Jasmine Smoke. How'd you end up having that collaboration?
So I am very much like into like rate your music, like the community and stuff on that site. And like and I've been on that site since I was 14, like using it every day of my life since then. And I am in this Discord server called Tweacord and I met Jasmine in there. And yeah, it's just like I think I said, does anybody want to collab on something? And then they reached out and then they were like make a backing like a bass track. So then I did this like crappy tinny instrumental and then they completely like reimagined it and like gave it life. And they did an amazing job. It's a really beautiful track. It's maybe even my favorite song that I've ever made.
Yeah, she's excellent.
Yes.
And speaking of excellent artists that you're friends with, I noticed that one of your very early demos, you collaborated with the other emo artist Zodiac on the Wings under the name Holden Caulfield. Do you ever plan on bringing back that sort of group name, or do you plan on just keeping it separate?
That was kind of like a one-off thing, but originally that project was called Atariwept and I changed it to Holden Caulfield like just as a throwaway um after I'd already released it. But yeah, Lily's really cool. We've collaborated on a couple songs and I always have a really fun time working with her.
And one thing that I kind of looking through your kind of rate your music is that I really admire how deeply you're sort of involved in your knowledge about sort of the classic emo scene. What are some great sort of left field experiment? It doesn't even need to particularly be experimental. What are some emo bands that you think get overlooked and more people should listen to?
Um, the first band that springs to mind is the Casabone Red. I mean, they're not like massively underrated, but only really like dedicated people know about them. And it's very like cap and jazz style. emo from like the mid to late 90s, and they're from Georgia, I believe. Um, Let me see. Oh, my favorite emo band of all time is called A Trillion Barnacle Laps. Again, they're not like massively underrated, like if you know, you know, but they have the coolest screams ever. And it's also they only were screamo for like 9 songs, and then they started making like gothy post-hardcore. But yeah, they have like these amazing 9 songs that are just like really crazy experimental screamo. There's like synths and like dancey parts, and like it's all from like 2000. It's like really kind of early to that kind of thing. And their screams are like very crazy. I love like there's a vocal style called it's either called kittencore or bird call depending on who you talk to, but I very much love that style. That's what I try to do when I scream, like just like the bloody murder dying cat screams. That's the idea behind it. Um, Meryl Streaker is another favorite, and that band has members of like Flowers Taped to Pins and See You Later Cowboy and like all kinds of like pretty well-known bands, but they themselves don't get a lot of attention, and they're one of my favorites also. It's just really, really good screamo. And then I really like mall emo, and I feel like Daphne Loves Derby and Anorexic Beauty Queen are pretty underrated.
Do you have any new projects that are coming up that you want to hint toward?
I'm not working on anything in particular right now. Like I am making songs, but I don't have like an album in mind for right now. But I am playing a virtual festival with the Sleep Dealers and some other people that you probably know. Did you hear
The
about
Zest
this?
Fest.
Yep, Zest Fest, and I'm playing day 2. I can't remember what day it is. I think it's the 6th, maybe. If anybody, oh, it'll probably be over by the time this airs. I don't know, but
There's going to be an archive of it, right?
yeah, there'll be an archive of it if you missed this.
Yeah, make sure to check that out. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Where can we find your music?
I'm on all streaming, so Bandcamp, uh, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, whatever you use, I'm there.
All right. Once again, thank you so much for being here. And we'll head right back to the music.
All right, bye.